You're listening to the Shout Podcast, the official health and well-being podcast from the Firefighters Charity.
Hello, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Shout Podcast from the Firefighters Charity. If you're new to the podcast, we're here to bring you a unique insight into some of the health and well-being issues affecting the fire and rescue services community, to explain how you can bring about positive change yourself and how to go about getting support from the Firefighters Charity when you need it. In this episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at something we all spend a considerable amount of time doing, or at least trying to do, sleeping. A good night's sleep is such a fundamental part of the human experience. It's easy to take it for granted. However, for many, the prospect of 8 hours untroubled sleep a night is a pipe dream, and emergency services workers are particularly prone to suffer with their sleep. So earlier this week, I spoke to psychological therapist Kim Fry to find out a bit more about some of the common issues affecting sleep for members of the fire services community, why they happen, and what you can do about them. With many of the charity's beneficiaries having trouble with their sleep as a result of their work, perhaps as a result of working on a shift basis or due to working in and around traumatic situations, Sophie Pearce caught up with Watch Manager Mark Schofield to find out how help from the charity eventually allowed him to escape his demons and enjoy a good night's sleep. Later on, exercise therapist Rachel Rees has a 10-minute guided relaxation for you to help you nod off. So when we get to that part of the show, please make sure you're not driving or operating any heavy machinery. This one's just for those of us who are safely tucked up and listening at home. Of course, we've got another thank you to section with some incredible fundraising and life-saving achievements, and we'll hear from a few more of you who've answered the charity's urgent appeal and become regular donors. So let's kick off. And if you've ever wondered why it takes you so long to get to sleep at night, I asked Kim Fry to explain more. So, Kimberly, sleep is something that we take for granted, but why can it be an issue for members of the fire services community in particular?
Okay, so there are various issues that people in the fire and rescue service experience with their sleep. One of the most common causes is due to shift patterns. So our body has a natural 24-hour sleep-wake cycle, and obviously if you're doing shift patterns, particularly over a long period of time, you're obviously working against that sleep pattern. Also being woken up very suddenly, so if you're at the station and you're on call, you're often going from being very relaxed in your sleep state to suddenly having to be up and about and obviously very alert to attend to incidences, and that can make it very difficult often to get a good night's sleep. Also stress as well can be a big factor, so maybe stresses at work, life in general, can just make it quite difficult to try and get to sleep when you're trying to balance everything.
What would you say are some of the common difficulties people actually have with sleep? Is it all insomnia, or is poor sleep more complex than just that alone?
Well, there are various sleep problems that we would, encompass with insomnia. So that could include difficulty falling asleep. Staying asleep is another one. So people finding that actually they don't have an issue actually getting to sleep, but then they tend to wake up quite frequently. Waking up too early is quite a common one, and also feeling that you're not getting a particularly refreshing sleep. So when I've spoken to people before, what they tend to talk about is feeling quite exhausted during the day because they're not sleeping very well, but then as soon as their head hits the pillow, they're not actually tired, they tend to wake up and they can't switch off. Or sometimes they talk about getting to sleep fairly quickly, but then waking up again. Sometimes these problems are a result of doing shift work, like I said before, but for others it can be maybe waking up because of bad dreams, and again that stress can be another common problem. Sometimes what's happening is that because people have a sort of heightened stress response, they're in what we call fight or flight, and when we're in fight or flight we tend to be very tense. We might find that our mind is racing, we might have a raised heart rate, we might be worrying about things in general, and people find that quite difficult to manage. So when they go to sleep, they're often still in that fight or flight response, and they find it very difficult to know how to get out of it so they can actually relax and get a good night's sleep.
I've noticed we're using the word problem quite a bit when we're talking about these sleep difficulties. Is there a point that this can actually become a serious problem?
Well, I think we all know what it feels like, don't we, when we're not getting enough sleep. We can just generally tend to feel quite groggy, but it can sometimes become a bit of a persistent problem for people. And when it becomes that way, it can often start to have an impact on daily life. So, for example, if you're not getting enough sleep on a regular basis, you might begin to feel more irritable generally. Low mood can be something that people experience quite a lot, feeling that their minds is a little bit foggy and just generally feeling quite lethargic. They might also experience heightened anxiety. And of course, if you're experiencing all of these things, it can have quite a big impact on everyday activities. So, it might start to impact your work. So obviously not being able to concentrate on things quite as well. Feeling more irritable can obviously cause tensions with family members, with colleagues, and those stress levels might rise in general. And because of this, what sometimes might happen is, because our stress levels are high, we might feel that we're catching colds and things more regularly, because what happens is our stress levels can impact our immune system, and then in turn that might then cause people to feel a bit stressed about taking time off work.
So what can we do about it then? How can we address these sleep issues?
So what we try and get people to do, firstly, is just to try and help them to identify what their current sleep pattern is. So maybe thinking about, what is a normal sleep pattern for you at the moment, whether you're experiencing difficulties with sleep or not. And has this always been a sleep pattern, or has something changed? If so, can you identify when that changed? Sometimes it's just helpful to help people identify if there's a particular problem that's contributing to poor sleep. If you're experiencing stress and anxiety, it can be helpful to use mindfulness techniques to identify what thoughts and feelings you're experiencing, particularly when you're lying in bed and you feel that you can't sleep. So one thing that we would encourage is for people to try and accept those thoughts and feelings rather than trying to fight against them, because if we do that, that just ends up making them feel more stressed. So trying to just practice that mindfulness, just trying to accept thoughts and feelings. And if you're really busy during the day and you are having quite a lot of stress, maybe if you can, trying to put some time aside to process your thoughts. Because what can happen is, if we don't put time aside to think about how things are impacting us, perhaps think about some of the difficulties that we might be experiencing in the day, they then tend to pop up when we're sleeping at night, when there's less distractions. You can also try and write things down. So maybe writing a list of all the things that you're concerned about or anxious about.
There are bad habits when it comes to getting to the point when you need to go to bed. And I know that I personally am guilty of numerous ones of these. What are those? Tell me about some of those bad habits that mean that we can't get to sleep.
Well, I think one that we're all quite guilty of sometimes is the classic one of watching TV in bed, or having our phones or iPads on us when we're just before we're going to sleep. And again, we would advise against that, especially doing it on a regular basis. So our natural sleep-wake cycle is partly regulated by a hormone called melatonin, which preps our body for sleep. It helps to make us sleepy, and it's regulated by light exposure. So when it gets dark, that melatonin sort of kicks in, and then we hopefully start to feel sleepy. But obviously, if we're looking at screens all the time, our body's going to think that we need to stay alert and awake. So we would try and encourage people, just to put their phones and tablets away at least an hour before bedtime, and also try not to watch TV too soon before bedtime as well. Another one, if people can't sleep, that they tend to get into is clock watching. Worrying about how many hours have passed before we have to get up. And then people tend to get to this point of resignation. Oh, well, I'm not going to sleep, so I'll get up and maybe I'll do some jobs around the house, or maybe I'll put the television on. Again, I sort of discourage people from doing that. If you need to get up, maybe make it briefly, to maybe just get a glass of water, something like that. But you don't really want to be doing anything that's going to stimulate your brain to wake you up.
They make sense for sure, and we've got to try and avoid doing them. But if you were to give some top tips for that good night's sleep, what would they be, Kim?
Well, I've got 5 top tips. The first one is just generally looking after your well-being, making sure that you're getting regular exercise, you're eating a healthy, balanced diet, and that you're putting some time aside throughout the week just for yourself, just to de-stress. Secondly, on a more practical level in terms of your sleep environment, making sure that your sleep environment is really comfortable. So making sure that your room is well ventilated. You also want it to be dark, so that those sleep hormones kick in and make you sleepy, and making sure also that it's not too warm. It's also really good to try and have a sleep routine as well. So we often think about sleep routines as being for sort of younger children and babies, but actually it can also be good for us as well, particularly if we're having trouble sleeping. So when we're very, very busy in the day, and then we just go straight to bed, it's actually quite unrealistic to expect our brains to just switch off straight away and for us to fall asleep. So it's just a good idea, maybe an hour before, just to have a little bit of a routine, turn off those screens, just try and relax a little bit, and just let your mind and your body know that actually this is a time for sleeping. Also, just try and avoid the stimulants such as caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol near bedtime. It's a good idea to try and avoid caffeine at least a few hours before you go to bed. And alcohol, although that can make us feel quite relaxed, and some people say it takes them into a lovely deep sleep, your body is actually having to spend the time you would normally be resting by burning the alcohol in your system. So actually it can end up resulting in having a very unrefreshing sleep. So try not to drink alcohol too much, before you go to bed. If you're doing shift work, obviously, make use of the things I've already suggested, or the general things that you can do. But there are also extra things that you can do if you are on night shifts. So when you come off a night shift and you have your next sleep, try and have a recovery sleep. So you're just getting back that energy from having done those shift patterns. Trying to eat a very light breakfast before you have your daytime sleep as well. So that's going to help you make sure that you don't wake up during your daytime sleep feeling hungry. Also, eating at the beginning and the end of your shift can help, and just avoiding heavy meals as well before you go to sleep. And trying to get a bit of exposure to light before a night shift as well can help, just to create your own sort of sleep-wake cycle whilst you're on those shift patterns. And lastly, I would just say making use of relaxation, mindfulness, breathing techniques, which you can access on various apps on your phone. If you're experiencing stress, relaxation techniques can be just really useful and just helping you to slow down, aid calm. It's just good to be aware of what's going on in your mind and body. But as well as doing this just before bed, it's just good to try and get into a regular habit of trying to do this in the day. Relaxation is something that doesn't always come naturally to us. We live in a very fast-paced world, so sometimes it's something that we have to practice. So if at first you don't succeed, just keep trying with it, keep persevering, and eventually you'll find that actually it comes a little bit more naturally to you.
It's excellent advice. If someone's listening to this and maybe recognises just some of what we've discussed and wants some further support, what should they do?
Well, obviously, you can call the charity. If you're concerned about any stress or anxiety you're experiencing, please do feel free to give us a call, and we can work with you in working out what the best kind of support is for you. You can also head to our website as well. So on the website, we've got various articles on sleep, and we've also got some brilliant relaxation techniques and some Tai Chi videos just to help you get into that relaxation mode.
That's perfect. Thank you, Kim, so much. Really appreciated that. Some great advice there.
Thank you. Bye.
Working in and around trauma is never easy, and for many the impacts can be significant. Mark Schofield, for example, was experiencing flashbacks, unable to concentrate at work and unable to sleep at night. Mark's symptoms were dominating his life. Sophie Pearce spoke to him to find out how the Firefighters charity helped to turn things around and, eventually, allow him to enjoy a good night's sleep.
Hi Mark, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Mark Schofield. I've been in the fire service for 33 years. I'm married, 2 children, and I also have a little dog as well.
Which station are you based at?
I am currently based at Wootton Under Edge on the retained duty system, and also at Stroud on the whole-time duty system.
Have you enjoyed your time in the fire service?
I have, yes, immensely. I think a bit of excitement that you get with the job. You get a lot of helping out, a lot of satisfaction from helping others out as well. The camaraderie you get with all the teams. everything you learn. It's just been a really good career choice for me, really.
Tell me about the events that led to you seeking support from the firefighters charity.
This happened, it was a road traffic collision that I went to, and it was on a local road in the area. And I knew that my wife had been travelling along the same road at the time the call came in. All I could think about when we were turning out to the incident was, blimey, I hope it's not my wife. It became apparent then that no, it wasn't my wife's car, and it wasn't her that was there. The sense of relief and jubilation that I felt was overwhelming for me, really. Thing that got to me most was the fact that I knew the young lad that was in the car. I just felt completely guilty at feeling overwhelmed, and in that it wasn't my wife, but it was somebody else's son that had died. And everything really from then on in for, I don't know, probably 3-4 years, everything spiraled out of control, really.
What was life like during that period?
My work rate went down, family life suffered, terrible mood swings, and I just couldn't concentrate on anything. Anything I did I never completed any tasks. It was just awful, really, terrible.
Was it affecting your sleep as well?
Sleep was another thing. I really didn't sleep much at all. I'd find myself sleeping during the day because I was so tired because I didn't sleep at night, and I didn't really sleep much during the day. I couldn't sleep because I was dreaming. I kept getting flashbacks of not only the road traffic collision that I went to, but it just seemed to roll on that I would look back at other incidents that I'd been to, cardiac care incidents, etc. And sleep was just, it was pretty non-existent at the time.
What made you contact the firefighters charity when you did?
Eventually, after about 4 years, I was referred to occupational health through the fire service, and he advised me to get in touch with the firefighters charity, which is something I'd never thought of doing. I mean, I've paid into it all my career. We've done all the fundraising events. So I got in touch with Harkham House, and I eventually ended up spending 2 weeks down there, actually. So, yeah.
What was that like?
Very apprehensive when I went, but the care, the treatment, the staff, they were fantastic, absolutely fantastic, brilliant people. I think my wife said there was more of me there than what there used to be. So, yeah, it literally was within a week. The difference was noticeable.
And did you talk about your sleep, and were you given any sort of coping mechanisms to help?
Yeah, I was given lots of coping mechanisms to help me. It was simple things, really. Give yourself 20 minutes to sleep instead of sleeping all day. Try and find yourself a notepad and pen. So as when I woke up in the night dreaming about everything or worrying about things, I would write it down and then have a look at it in the morning and try and sort things out from there. Loads of coping mechanisms, absolutely loads. Exercise was another thing.
So tell me a bit more about your exercise, because that became almost therapeutic for you, going out and running and things.
It did. It was, I'll start off with, we did yoga, which I always thought was rubbish, really, but after doing it's from doing it at Harkham House, I still do it now.
Really?
I still do the yoga now. We actually do it on Watch as well.
Wow.
And I find it absolutely fantastic for me. And running, I did a lot of running. It was when the firefighters charity were doing the 75-mile challenge. It was a big incentive to do the running because I was raising money for the charity, because I wanted to give something back in some form or another for all the help they'd given me. And actually running around it just made me feel better.
And what would you say to someone who was struggling like you were those years ago with things that they'd seen and wasn't sure of what to do or where to turn?
I would definitely advise them to get in touch with the firefighters charity. Definitely. And before that, we've got all the mechanisms that we have in the service anyway. and to talk.
Mark, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your story.
That's okay, no problem at all. Thank you.
Fantastic to hear that things are back on track for Mark. Now it's time for a few thank yous, and as has become tradition on Shout Podcast, we've crammed as many as we can into 2 minutes. So if you're ready, here we go. First is Samuel Cullis, who completed a 15-mile triathlon at Evesham Fire Station, raising over £700 for the charity. Not content with that, he's also due to complete a 70-mile bike ride in September. Matthew Dorrington raised a fantastic £1,259 after completing a marathon, cycle and run. John Ashby raised £1,130 for completing a treadmill challenge. Scottish Fire and Rescue Service Training Support Assistant Liz Dolan completed a 150k walking challenge, raising £150. Andre Turner from Essex Fire and Rescue Service ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, raising a fantastic £750. In St Albans, Greenwatch completed a 180-mile cycle challenge around Hertfordshire, raising £1,755. Thanks to Liam Sharples, who completed a charity walk in full fire kit to raise £1,063. On-call firefighters at Macclesfield Fire Station took part in a 24-hour endurance walk up and down Shuttling Slow Hill recently, raising an amazing £3,274. Congratulations to Ernie Cock, who turned 100 years old recently and received a very worthy Guard of Honour. Ernie joined the National Fire Service in 1946 and then transferred to the London Fire Brigade. He served most of his career at Poplar Fire Station. Meanwhile, firefighters from Manchester Fire and Rescue Service recently worked with the RSPCA in Stalybridge to rescue a duckling stuck down a drain. They were able to locate the next manhole and flush him out to safety, catching him in a net at the other end. The happy duckling was then returned to his mother. And to our last feel-good story of the show, when George Cox, an on-call firefighter at Padstow Community Fire Station, is alerted to emergencies on his pager, he gets to the station as quickly as possible on his bicycle. When his pager sounded recently, however, he rushed out of his house only to find his bike had been stolen. After hearing of the news, the local branch of a well-known bike store has come to the rescue and generously provided him with a brand new bike. George was completely overwhelmed with the gesture and was so grateful for all the support he's received. Another cracking couple of minutes there, with some amazing fundraising challenges, raising much needed funds. And that's just what the charity's urgent appeal is seeking to do, to help the charity overturn the downturn in fundraising income that resulted from the coronavirus pandemic. The appeal is asking you to become a regular donor, and here's why some of you have responded to it.
Our charity is at risk as never before. I now give regularly following a life-changing stay at Juby House. Please consider doing the same. It may be the only way we can ensure it's here for your future too.
I donate to the Firefighters Charity because as firefighters we are naturally there to help other people. It is so nice to know that when we are in need, as my family was, the Firefighters Charity was there to support us.
My name is Joe Harkins, recently retired after serving 41 years Strathclyde Fire and Rescue and latterly Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. I've been a fundraiser and contributor to the Firefighters Charity for those 41 years. Some of our colleagues do pay the ultimate price. Others suffer mental health damage. Others suffer physical health damage. But the Firefighters Charity is there to help them in their time of need, 24/7, to help improve their quality of life and repair that damage. And that's why I contribute every month to the Firefighters Charity and have done for 40 years and will continue to do so. Those damaged colleagues could have been me.
Now then, are you sitting comfortably? I hope so, and I also hope you're not driving, operating any heavy equipment, cooking or doing anything else that requires you to be alert and awake. If you are, and in all seriousness, please either stop what you're doing or hit pause on the podcast until you're somewhere where you can comfortably fall asleep. To end the show, we've got a wonderful 10-minute guided relaxation for you with exercise therapist Rachel Rees, designed to help you drift off to sleep all you need to do is lie back, close your eyes, and let yourself relax.
Get yourself comfortable and close your eyes. We'll begin with a few slow, deep breaths. Each time you breathe in, breathe all the way down into your stomach. Breathe in slowly and feel your abdomen and lungs expand with air. Now allow your breath to just flow out. When you let go of each breath, release any tension or stress which you hold with it. Keep breathing in slow, deep breaths and feel yourself relaxing as you gradually release each breath that you take. Continue to breathe slowly and gently and begin to scan over your entire body. Look for areas of tension to release. As I mention each body part, I invite you to bring your awareness to it and relax it as deeply as you can. Just feel or imagine a sensation of relaxation and relief moving through each of your body parts. Bring your awareness to the top of your head. Just sense or imagine a feeling of relaxation beginning to spread down from the top of your scalp. Feel the muscles in your forehead and your temples relax. Allow your eye muscles to release. Let your cheeks and your jaw soften. And let go of all of the tension that you hold. Now let this peaceful feeling flow down into your neck. Feel it loosening every muscle and every fibre. With each breath you take, this relaxing feeling becomes deeper and it becomes warmer. It works its way deep into the muscles in your shoulders. It soothes them and it releases them. This peaceful feeling flows down from your shoulders and into your arms. It loosens the muscles in your upper arms, your forearms, your hands. It relaxes and soothes all the way down to the tips of your fingers. As your body relaxes, your mind relaxes. And your thoughts seem to become lighter. You're slipping further and further into a dreamlike state of stillness and relaxation. Now bring your awareness to your chest and to your stomach. Feel how this area of your body gently rises and falls with each breath that you take. This peaceful sensation flows throughout this area of your body. It soothes every muscle and relaxes every organ. Now turn your attention to your upper back and feel this relaxing sensation flow all the way down to the base of your spine. As it gradually works its way down your body, feel every muscle in your back begin to relax and unwind. Now feel your hips relax as this peaceful feeling starts to work its way through your lower body. Relax your buttocks, the backs of your thighs, the fronts of your thighs. Feel all these large, strong muscle groups becoming looser and more relaxed with each passing moment. Soothing feelings of relaxation flow down through your knees and into your calves. Your ankles relax. Now your feet relax. Allow your entire lower body to relax. Allow any remaining tension from anywhere in your body to flow out through the tips of your toes. You are comfortable. You're peaceful. And you are relaxed. Imagine that you're outdoors at dusk. It's still light out, but the sun has set below the horizon. It's a pleasant temperature, comfortable, and you're in a safe, peaceful place in the country. Picture a place that feels calm, safe, and serene. A place that you would enjoy watching the starry sky at night. You're lying on a blanket and you can feel the grass on the ground around you. You see some trees in the distance. Feel yourself relaxing in this pleasurable scene, simply enjoying the solitude. The sky is becoming gradually darker. The highest part of the sky is a deep indigo colour, becoming darker and darker as the moments pass. This colour blends into a lighter shade, almost green, and at the horizon, the sky is an interesting shade of pink, mixed with grey into the fading light. It's very peaceful watching the sky darken. The air around you is so still and calm. In the distance you can hear crickets and frogs as they begin to sing. The air feels so pleasantly cool against your forehead and your cheeks. Looking at the horizon, you can see silhouettes of distant trees and buildings. Your eyes slowly adjust to the decreasing light, and as you gaze up above at the sky, it stretches from horizon to horizon like a vast dome. Straight up above, the sky is growing darker and darker, fading to a lighter colour near the horizon. You can see the first stars appear. First one star, and then another, and another. See them twinkle, shining like tiny diamonds. And as you look up at the darkening sky, you can see more and more stars begin to appear. Relax and enjoy the dusk, and watch the night begin. The sky is even darker now, with only a slight hint of light at the horizon where the sun has now set. The sky is so clear, you can see no clouds anywhere in the obscure starry sky. More stars have appeared, and now the sky looks as if it's full of gleaming crystals. Some stars are bright, and others are tiny specks that you can barely see. The sky is filled with so many stars that you would not even be able to count them. Simply enjoy relaxing under the starry sky and enjoy this quiet moment. The starry sky is so huge, so vast, a beautiful glimmering blanket of stars stretching up into a complete circle around you from every horizon. Admire the starry sky. You feel very calm, relaxed, and at peace. Whenever you're ready to leave the starry sky, you can begin to reawaken your body and your mind. Slowly return to the present. Start by moving your muscles, by wiggling your fingers. Open and close your hands a few times. Wiggle your toes. Move your ankles. Stretch if you need to. Feel your body becoming fully awake. Gently open your eyes and get yourself up into a comfortable position. Notice that you still feel calm and relaxed, although you now are awake and alert.
Hello. Hi there. Sorry to wake you if you've drifted off. Wasn't that wonderful? I'll for sure be playing that again next time I'm struggling to get to sleep. So that's the end of another episode. Thanks for listening. As ever, please tell your friends and colleagues to listen, subscribe and review. All the information you need to do so is on the website and on the Firefighters Charity's social media channels. We'll do it all again in a fortnight's time. So until then, take care and stay safe.
You've been listening to the Shouts podcast. For more information on the show and how the Firefighters Charity could support you, check out www.firefighterscharity.org.uk.
If you liked Shout Podcast, you're going to love My Firefighters Charity, the new social media wellbeing and fundraising app for the fire services community. Packed with great wellbeing content from the expert teams at the Firefighters Charity, you can connect with others, join groups, collaborate and have fun with your fire family friends across the UK. And you can get the advice and help you're after from the Firefighters Charity whenever you need it. Head to your app store, search for My Firefighters Charity and register for free today.